All right, so we have reached a point where we're going to be now talking about the action of specific hormones. And what we're going to be doing is we're kind of like starting at the top and working our way down through the various endocrine glands. And we had said we had this one endocrine gland. It's in your brain. It's in a portion of your brain, and it's called it's considered the master gland. It's the hypothalamus, and it secretes mostly tropic hormones. So we had said, what is a tropic hormone? Oh yeah, it's a hormone that has an effect on an endocrine gland, causing that endocrine gland to release another hormone. So if that's the case, so most of the hypothalamic hormones, you don't have to learn. And if you read your book, you'll see there's a whole lot of them. So we're cutting you some slack right there. You don't have to know the individual tropic hormones. There is one hormone that is called somatostatin, and it's an inhibitor of growth hormone. It's one that we'll talk about when we get to the pancreas. So as I said, we're starting at the top and we're working down, and so we're just gonna mention that we'll be coming back to somatostatin, and we're gonna move on to the pituitary gland. Now you might remember when we were looking at the skull, there was this cute little saddle on the inside, the sella turcica. You know the one. And I talked about a little cowboy sitting there, but there isn't a cowboy. No, I made that up, or I read that somewhere. But there is something that sits there. It's called the pituitary gland. It's called the pituitary gland. And as with many of these glands, we're going to talk about how there's actually more than one gland in a given gland. So when we talk about the pituitary gland, the little cowboy, if we will, that's sitting in the sella turcica, we talk about the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. They're totally different, and they're going to secrete different things. So we're going to start out talking about the anterior pituitary gland. And the anterior pituitary gland is going to be glandular. You would think all glands would be glandular, but the posterior pituitary really isn't. But anyway, the anterior pituitary is glandular in nature, and we have 4 different hormones we're going to talk about there. Growth hormone. I just mentioned it. Growth hormone is one of the ones we'll be talking about. We have prolactin, we have follicle stimulating hormone, and we have luteinizing hormone. So these are the 4 hormones, and we're on slide, I guess it's 12. We're going to talk about those. And then from the posterior pituitary gland, we have antidiuretic hormone and something called oxytocin. And we have slides for each of these, or that cover each of these. So slide number 13. Slide number 13, we have growth hormone. And so we had said, what is growth hormone? Growth hormone causes you to grow. And so especially early in life, you produce a lot of growth hormone. And we had said that we'll be talking a little bit more about something called somatostatin, which is a inhibitor of growth hormone. So it's going to be limited that way. And so what does growth hormone do? It causes you to grow, produce muscle, burn fat, all of these kinds of things. That's why in some cases, this is one that also is a hormone that could be abused by athletes. We're not going to say a whole lot about growth hormone, though. It causes growth. What else can I say? Prolactin. Now, prolactin, it's an interesting one. It is it's going to be responding to high estrogen and high progesterone levels, as well as pregnancy and suckling. What does it do? Causes you to make milk. So it's it's a female thing. So prolactin causes the production of milk, and when do you produce milk? It's when you've got a baby, and you've had high levels of estrogen, high levels of progesterone, the hormone of pregnancy, and then you've got a baby suckling on your breast, and it causes you to make milk. It also has some other functions, some maternal kind of functions, so it helps in bonding with the babies. It is present in males, but the function is really not understood there. So we have these two. Well, all you really need to know is that it causes you to make milk. Now make sure you pay attention to my wording there, the synthesis of milk. We'll talk about something else causing the release of milk. And so that's not prolactin. Prolactin is for the synthesis of milk. We have two other hormones that we're going to talk about for the anterior pituitary gland. We have luteinizing hormone, and we have follicle stimulating hormone. So if you look at the picture on slide number 14, I guess it is, that's a cross-section of an ovary. And you can see these big voids in there, and those are follicles. So follicle stimulating hormone is going to stimulate the ovary to mature eggs. And so these eggs are in this fluid-filled void. It starts out little, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And as it is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it becomes filled up with another hormone, which is called estrogen. And estrogen starts building up in your blood because you have all this estrogen in there. And because of this buildup of estrogen in this follicle, which is resulting from follicle stimulating hormone, it ends up, the estrogen is going to feed back on the follicle stimulating hormone, so you stop producing that. But it's too late, you're already producing the follicle, right? So it gets bigger and bigger, and the estrogen level gets higher and higher and higher, and that inhibits follicle stimulating hormone, but it stimulates luteinizing hormone. Okay, so here, I can't help it. All of these hormones are kind of interrelated. So we had said we have follicle stimulating hormone that causes you a follicle or follicles to develop, and you get one really big one. That's the primary follicle. And because that follicle is there and it's filled with estrogen and it's releasing estrogen, because of that, it stimulates the release of the fourth hormone from the anterior pituitary, the one called the luteinizing hormone. So as the follicle gets bigger and estrogen levels rise, you start releasing pulses of luteinizing hormone, and eventually you get a really big one, and it causes the follicle to go pop and release the egg. Luteinizing hormone is what causes ovulation. Okay, so we have follicle stimulating hormone causes the production of the follicle and the maturation of an egg. Because you're maturing an egg and you have this follicle, you have estrogen levels that have risen, and because of the rise in estrogen levels, we get a release of luteinizing hormone, which causes ovulation. I know, it's a mouthful, but what can I do? I have to present it to you the way it is. So follicle stimulating hormone. So I'm on slide number 14. I've been focusing on female, right? Well, it also is present in males. And what do you think it does? If it's producing an egg in the female, maybe it stimulates the production of sperm cells. That's it. Yeah, very good. In the male, it stimulates the production of the sperm cells as well. So we have in the male, follicle stimulating hormone is having basically the same effect, egg versus sperm cells. But the luteinizing hormone, what it's going to do in the male is it's going to cause other cells that are present in the testes to secrete testosterone. So the luteinizing hormone is going to be causing a release of testosterone. I know it's all interrelated. Okay, I'm going to stop right here and we'll come back and we'll talk about posterior pituitary hormones. Okay? I know you can't wait.